And welcome back to another episode of Dogs on the Couch, where everybody's allowed to have an opinion. It does not matter if you played the game you were watching. So you're allowed to have an opinion as well. Cleveland Browns lose to the Baltimore Ravens, not to my surprise at all. However, there were some surprising things that took place in this game, should we say? Let's get right into it, man. Let's talk about it. Shedeur Sanders got a chance to get out on the field for everybody who's been clamoring for the Shedeur Sanders. Now, before getting into the nitty gritty, let me let me give a couple disclaimers, if you will. Number one, I'm neither pro Shedeur or anti Shedeur. Do I like Shedeur as an NFL quarterback prospect? Yes, I do. But I'm not, you know, partial. Like I'm not, just so super Shedeur. Like I'm not. And again, one of the reasons that I'm not is because I'm on record, even like before the draft, saying that, well, yeah, I like Shedeur as an NFL prospect, as a quarterback prospect. However, the reason I didn't want him with the Browns is because I didn't want him under Stefanski, because I felt like Kevin Stefanski was going to ruin him, similar to what he did with Deshaun Watson. In my personal opinion, I felt like Kevin Stefanski would ruin Shedeur Sanders. That was why I did not want him coming to Cleveland. And then not only that, but in the grand scheme of things, with what's happened, what's transpired with all of the quarterbacks before we got to Shedeur, I think it's safe to say that Kevin is a quarterback killer, not a quarterback guru. Okay, because we consistently watch other quarterbacks have their best success away from Kevin, not with him. Because for the longest, Kevin got the best out of Baker Mayfield. Yeah, until he went to Tampa Bay. And then they got the best out of Baker Mayfield. Even Joe Flacco, who's been in the league 20 years, his first 400 plus passing yard game, well, that didn't come with you, Stefanski, and them 5 hot games that he had when he was here with the Browns. Now that came over there with the Cincinnati Bengals. That's where that came. And if the Bengals had any kind of a defense over there, like Bengals might be in the lead for the division right now. It's just that their defense is terrible. Their defense sucks. I could probably start on defense for the Cincinnati Bengals right now. That's how bad they are. So when Cincinnati is not winning games, it is not because of quarterback play. Let's put that out there. When they losing them games, because their defense can't stop a nosebleed. Their defense can't stop anything. Their defense couldn't stop a 9U team. Okay, I don't understand what's going on with their defense over there. But one thing that I'm consistent on this channel, because I've said the exact same thing about Dillon Gabriel, because I'm not pro Dillon Gabriel, I'm not anti Dillon Gabriel. Any quarterback that comes to the Cleveland Browns under Stefanski's watch, I don't feel like I can get a proper assessment of them because they're under Stefanski. I've said that about Dillon Gabriel. I was like, on this channel, I've been like, well, for the people who trying to criticize Dillon Gabriel and talk bad about Dillon Gabriel, I don't know. I don't know if he's good or not. I don't know because he's under Stefanski. So I don't know. He looks like all the other quarterbacks have looked under Stefanski. And then the problem that people are getting into now and again, I've made this reference on the channel before, is they arguing about what trash is the worst trash. And in my mind, that's a dumb argument. Trash is trash, whether it's in a Glad bag or whether it's in a brown paper bag, whether it's in a grocery store bag, it's trash. Trash is trash. You could put it in a golden bag. It's still trash. Like, what are we arguing about? Like, at one point, I'm hearing people argue about, well, as bad as Dylan he's never looked as bad as, Shedeur. And I mean, if we use an eye test, that's not true. They both have looked exactly the same. Awful. The only thing people want to use is, the statistic numbers. Because I think Shedeur was like 4 for 16 or something like that. Took a couple sacks, threw a pick. But again, people quickly forget, Dylan Gabriel, backed up in his own end zone, throwing the ball to nobody, taking a safety inexplicably, then pointing over there like somebody was there and they're not. Constant interceptions that are dropped, that Dylan Gabriel is throwing, but the defenders are dropping them. Missing receivers high, wide. I mean, just being wildly inaccurate with the football. You know what I'm saying? And then not being able to process things. When we were sold on the number one thing that he does is process so well. He processes so much better than everybody else does. And we're still yet to see that. We haven't seen this super computer that we were sold that he was, that he's the super processor, that he just sees everything so well. We're yet to see it. So let's just get into it. So with Dylan, we're yet to see this super processing ability and all this other stuff. And Dylan's been getting reps with the first team since training camp. Since he got here and stepped off the plane, he's been getting reps with the first team. So when he threw that ball to nobody and took that safety, he did that while getting reps with the first team the entire time that he's been here. And then once Joe Flacco was traded, he's the only one that gets first team reps. Nobody else gets any first team reps except Dylan Gabriel. He gets all the first team reps. He's the only one that's working with first team personnel. Now, mind you, when Joe Flacco was the starter, Dylan Gabriel would get mixed in and get first team reps as the backup. So, I'll say that again. When Joe Flacco was the starter, Dylan Gabriel would get mixed in and get first team reps as the backup. Okay? As the backup, he would get first team reps. I don't know why, because, all the people who are arguing against Shedeur, backups don't typically get first team reps. So why was Dylan getting them when Flacco was the starter? Why was Dylan getting first team reps? Because typically the backup QB don't get first team reps. He's supposed to just get out there with no first team reps and ball out. That's what he's supposed to do. For all of the people who are trying to go hard on Shedeur, pause. Where was that? Like, how come Dylan? Why didn't we do that? What happened with Dylan? Why was Dylan getting first team reps as the backup? He's the backup, and the backup not supposed to be getting first team reps. That's what y'all saying about Shedeur. So why was Dylan getting first team reps then as the backup? For what? Why? Because from what I understand, from what y'all telling me, the anti-Shedeur people, what you telling me is, a backup don't get no first team reps. And that's been the way it's been since just the beginning of time. Okay, great. So then why was Dylan getting them? Answer that question. It's a direct contradiction to what they're saying. Why was Dylan getting first team reps as the backup if the backup isn't supposed to be getting any reps with the first team? I don't understand. And then they take it a step further and start bringing up people like, for example, like when Baker went over to the Rams. He was there for like a week. And he balled out in that one game and they won or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Josh Dobbs is another guy that's had a couple times where he bounced around to I think one time he went to the Minnesota Vikings. I forget what year that was. Maybe it was 2019. I forget. But he was there with the Minnesota Vikings. I think he was there for like 5 days he was there. You know what I'm saying? He ended up going out there, having a great performance, winning the game and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So these are instances that, people are using to say, like, hey, look, as a backup, this is, no reps and not coming, and the guy went out there. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse for Shedeur. There's no excuse. Well, here's the problem with that, though. Here's the problem. Those other guys had been in the NFL. So Baker Mayfield had been in the NFL for 5 years, I think, 4 or 5 years before that situation with the Rams took place. Josh Dobbs been in the NFL for a number of years before that situation with the Minnesota Vikings took place. Number of other quarterbacks, that were backups and forced in those situations. They have been in the league a number of years. So there's just certain things about playing quarterback in the NFL that are standard no matter what team you're on. So it's not specific to the offense that you run in or the schemes or anything like that. It's the fact that I know what an NFL game feels like. I know what the speed of the game feels like. I've seen some of these defensive coverages that they run in real time. Like I have an actual experience to rely on in real NFL game time. I have experience to rely on. Like my quarterback clock in my head is up to speed because I've been out here as a starter before playing in real NFL meaningful games. So, despite not knowing the system or the offense or any of this type of stuff, I have just the average understanding of an NFL game and what it feels like to be in one. That's an extremely big part of playing quarterback in the NFL. Knowing what it feels like, the speed of the game and all of that old kind of stuff. Not to mention, in the defense of Dillon Gabriel, I had people bringing up Josh Allen's stats. Like, first of all, like, how dare we put Josh Allen and Dillon Gabriel in the same sentence? Like, how I wouldn't be putting Josh Allen and Shedeur Sanders in the same sentence. So again, why would I be putting Dillon Gabriel and Josh Allen in the same sentence? But they was trying to use Josh Allen's first little couple of years where he was struggling. He was more of like a running quarterback instead of a passer. He didn't really have a great completion percentage. I think it was around by like 55%. Struggled with throwing a lot of interceptions, different things of that nature. And using that to try to, subsidize Dillon Gabriel's performances as a rookie, saying, well, he looks like a rookie should look, he looks like your typical rookie, you know what I mean? Like that's what we were being sold on. Again, I felt like the only difference is between Dillon Gabriel and a lot of the other guys that were mentioned. Even Patrick Mahomes was mentioned for whatever reason. I feel like the main difference between Dillon Gabriel and those guys was that those guys all had number one, intangibles, and number two, physical attributes. So, either the guy is tall or, the guy has a really big arm, you know what I'm saying? Or he's extremely athletic, extremely mobile, different things, or a combination of those things, you know what I mean? With Josh Allen, he was mobile as well as really tall, and he's got the big arm. You know what I mean? So when he's struggling and different things like that, you have those tools to look at to say, like, well, if we could just clean up, help him be able to process this other stuff, or maybe design an offense that he's comfortable in to get his completion percentage up and, get him more comfortable to where he's not turning the ball over and different things. This guy could be something amazing because he has all of the tools and the traits to be an outstanding quarterback. Tall, big arm, mobile. So you know what? If we just clean his other stuff up, the guy will be great. Well, with Dillon, he doesn't have any of that stuff. So with Dillon, it's like you have to rely on this super processing ability. If you're not out there being the supercomputer, there's nothing else for you to rely on, Dillon. Like that's the only thing that I didn't like about people comparing Dillon's start to his NFL career with other quarterbacks that are going to be Hall of Famers when it's all said and done. Because those guys had, with Lamar Jackson, the guy is, like, come on, man. It's Lamar Jackson. The guy is evasive as they come. Not to mention he's got pretty good arm talent. He can actually throw the football. But just what's so crazy is just the first couple years he was able to get by with just being more athletic than everybody else. Like he was just able to just be a football player. And a lot of times it just looked like he's out there on the playground and he's better than everybody else. You know, that one kid that's out there on the playground with the football and he's just better than everybody else. Like that's just what it looked like. And then, you know, they found some ways to fine tune, work on him with the passing game. And he's become a very, very good passer of the football. Okay? But the point was he already had like these just talented qualities about him. With Dillon Gabriel, it's all processing ability. It's all processing ability. He's not that mobile. He's not tall, clearly. Doesn't have the best arm. So the only thing he really has to rely on is the super processing ability. Okay? So that's one of the reasons I didn't like the, you know, trying to give a pass and then use, you know, these other quarterbacks to try to, you know, compare them with Dillon Gabriel. Like that was absolutely terrible. So with all of these first team reps that Dillon's been getting, you know, training camp, even when Flacco was the starter, everything, he's been getting first team reps. He looks how he looks, which is statistically the worst quarterback in the league, the worst starting quarterback in the league. That's what his numbers say. With getting all the first team reps, his numbers say he's the worst quarterback in the league. So respectfully, if you put a backup quarterback out there who hasn't gotten any reps with the first team, none at all at any point, because Kevin Stefanski came out in the press conference after the game and confirmed. Because Shedeur said it first. He was like, the first ball I've thrown to Jerry Jeudy, period, was in this game. That's the first pass that he's thrown to Jerry Jeudy since he's been here, was in that Baltimore Ravens game. The first pass he threw to Jerry Jeudy, period, was in the Baltimore Ravens game. Make that make sense. So again, if a guy who's been getting first team reps from day one, even when Joe Flacco was the starter and the backup is not supposed to be getting any first team reps because the backups typically don't get first team reps, although that's up for debate because just as many NFL players that say the backups don't typically get any first team reps, there are also other NFL players that say, well, everywhere I've gone, the last like maybe 10 reps, will they go to the backup? So, like, I mean, either way, you can be on the fence about it. Either way, you have people confirming both sides of it. But again, my thing is, I don't want to debate that. My point is, if the guy who's been getting the first team reps, even when he should or shouldn't have been, the point is, he's been getting them. And he's been getting them, and he is statistically the worst quarterback in the NFL. Well, then why would we think that when we put a guy out there who hasn't gotten any first team reps, that he would look better? That he would look good at all? Because Dillon get all the first team reps and he don't look good. So why would a guy who doesn't get any first team reps, why would he look good? That just doesn't make any sense at all. None whatsoever. And then if I'm using my brain here, if I'm being logical, you know, for everybody with the whole, I ain't gonna say everybody, with Kevin. One of the reasons that Kevin was saying that, you know, Dillon was getting all the reps and Shedeur can't get no reps. You know, Dillon is a rookie, so he needs all of the reps, you know, that he could possibly get. You know, it's not like a veteran guy, you know, who maybe can skip a couple reps here or there. You know, Dillon's a rookie, so he needs to get as many reps as he possibly can. Okay, surface level thinking, great idea. You're right, Kevin. Yeah, rookie, he needs to get all the reps. Way to go, Kevin. You're smart. But if you go past the surface level of thinking, well, Kevin, your situation is different from most, because most I almost want to say none, but I'm pretty sure there's probably one instance like this before in NFL history, but probably can't, probably only need one hand to count them on the amount of times where, your starter and your backup are both rookies. I don't know. I can't remember how many times that's happened in the NFL. I don't think it's happened too many times where your starter and your backup are both rookies, both of them. So if I go past surface level thinking, Kevin, well, if I'm saying that the reason that Dillon Gabriel needs all the first team reps is because he's a rookie, well, so's my backup. And what we know about the game that's the game of football, the game that we call football, what we know about that, all it takes is one play. All it takes is one play. That's what we know about the game of football. What do they call the NFL? They call it not for long. That's what they call it. All it takes is one play. That's it. That's all it takes. So for me, if I'm Kevin, thankfully I'm not. If I'm Kevin, I would be thinking to myself, well, like, yeah, I probably do want to help benefit this starting rookie with him getting all of the reps. However, my backup is a rookie too. So if something happens to my starter that's a rookie, well, then the backup that I'm going to, well, he's a rookie too. And if I'm saying that this starting rookie need all of these reps in order for him to be ready or whatever, or to give him the best chance, well, then why would I think if something happens to him that my backup would be able to come in and be any good? Because I'm struggling with the starter to be good and he getting all the reps. So if I was Kevin, thankfully I'm not, I would be thinking to myself, like, you know what? Being as though we have an unusual situation here at quarterback on our team, I think I might distribute the reps in an unusual fashion. Instead of giving all of these first team reps to just Dillon, let me find some first team reps to give to my backup quarterback because he's a rookie too. And all it would take is one play, which is all it took, for Dillon Gabriel to be put in concussion protocol. And the next thing you know, I got to put Shedeur out here. Now, what I will say is this. If you don't necessarily care about the development and or success of said quarterback, which is Shedeur Sanders, well then, yeah, at that point, I wouldn't care if he getting first team reps or not, because I wouldn't care if you look good when you get out there or not. You're not my guy. My guy is Dillon Gabriel. So the guy that I'm concerned about looking the best is Dillon Gabriel. I don't care whether you look good or not, Shedeur. So being as though I don't care whether you look good or not when you get out there, I don't feel the need to try to work any reps in for you. Why? I don't care. You're not my quarterback. So I don't care whether you look good when you out there or not. That doesn't matter to me because you're not my quarterback. I don't care whether you look good or not when you get out there. Doesn't matter to me. That seems like that would be something that would only go through the mind of a head coach that actually cares about whether that other quarterback is going to be out there and look good and have a chance to be successful. I mean, goodness gracious, with Dillon, we were trying to be specific about what team we don't want to start him against this team. We want to, we don't want to start him in London because it's overseas. Like that's the way we was trying to be extremely careful and set Dillon up for the perfect possible success. That's why he was getting reps as the backup when Joe was the starter. Because we want to make sure that Dillon is, that he just has every opportunity to be, set up for the proper success. But for some reason, this other rookie, we not affording him those same opportunities. That's the only thing that, I side with all of the Shedeur people. You can't tell me in my face that it's an equal opportunity and it's an equal playing field. But then when we looking at it, well, it's not. And it's just like, I'd rather you just say it's not an equal playing field. I'd rather, like, this is my thing. I would rather Kevin just come out and say, Dylan is my guy. Shedeur isn't necessarily my guy. So my focus right now is Dylan Gabriel because that's my guy. That's my starter. That's who I'm looking at. That's the guy that I want to move forward with. Unfortunately, the other guy isn't my pick. I'd rather him just say that. And at least, and then it's like I could respect it, and we know what's going on, and it's like I respect you for telling the truth because I mean, like that's what it is. So like, I respect that, bruh. Like I'm with that. And in Myles Garrett's post game presser, he made mention of something I thought was notable because I even brought this up about the whole preseason game where Shedeur was mic'd up and you could catch him talking on the sideline to Myles Garrett, and Myles Garrett makes a comment to him saying, no, we're going to need you. In my mind, I was like, okay, I think Myles Garrett likes this kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he sees something in the kid. You know what I'm saying? Some potential, if you will. And Myles Garrett made comments in his post game presser where he was saying, like, hey man, Shedeur talked to everybody, after the game was over with, and he's basically trying to tell everybody, putting everything on him. And Myles definitively said, and we're not going to allow him to do that. We're not going to allow him to do that. Like this is a team thing. Like we all in this together. So we're not going to allow him to do that. We're not going to allow him to do that. The fact that a guy openly opens his mouth and makes a definitive stance like that, a definitive statement like that to back you up, because I think he knew what was coming, Myles Garrett. I think he knew how everybody about to go hard on this kid. And then mind you, the way everybody's trashing this kid, he played one half of football. He played one half of football with no first team reps and no game plan that was designed for him. Not to mention, y'all have been saying all year long, we got the worst wide receiving core ever in the history, the worst offensive line in the world. And just 2 weeks ago, your head coach / play caller gave up the playbook. So all of these things were in play with Dylan Gabriel when we've seen multiple games of Dylan Gabriel be garbage and then like regress. Not progress, but regress. Started out mid and then regressed to absolute garbage. Like we've watched this. Game after game after game after game of this, we've watched it. I want to say Dylan started maybe 6-7 games at the minimum by now, somewhere around there. And they still keep coming up with, things, for Dylan. And that's the why Dylan isn't in the best position and different things of that nature. And, and Shedeur being a distraction behind him. And that could be a part of the reason why he's not performing well and all that other stuff. Another thing I give Shedeur credit for, in his presser, he came out and said, he was kind of like, hey, man, everybody, can y'all kind of just chill a little bit, man? Because by y'all screaming for me, people are saying that I'm being a distraction and I'm not even doing anything. They saying that I'm being a distraction because y'all want me to play. So can y'all kind of just chill out with that a little bit? Like, I mean, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I thank y'all for supporting me like that. But this is a team. We trying to win games as a team. And so when Dylan out there, Dylan is the guy when he out there. So we want Dylan to be fully locked in and have full confidence and not be worried about anything else. Shedeur didn't have to come out and say any of that. He didn't. So for the people who like he's immature and look at this and he was miming stuff and all of that, it's like, okay, that's pretty mature if you ask me. Number one, after the game, you gather all the guys and say, hey, this is all on me, guys. This is my fault. When clearly it's not. Like, it's not, bro. It's not all your fault. But that's what real ones do. Hey, it's my fault, y'all. And then not only that, takes time. When he wasn't even asked about this, he just said himself, hey, real quick, I want to say this. hey, y'all, can we just kind of chill a little bit? You know what I'm saying? Because, they saying I'm a distraction, and I'm not even doing anything. I'm being viewed as a distraction because y'all clamoring for me to get in the game. Let's just chill a little bit. Whoever out there starting at quarterback, that's who's the starter, and that's who we supporting, and that's and we want to win as a team. This is a team. That shows maturity, in my opinion. Just being honest. That shows a certain level of maturity that we're told that he doesn't have. Okay, so again, in my opinion, man, I don't think I can get a proper judgment of whether Shedeur Sanders is good or not in one half of football, let alone up under Stefanski's watch. I don't think I can judge whether or not a guy is a true NFL quarterback in one half of football under Stefanski's watch. I can't judge if a guy is a good. He could spend 6 years. This is my thing. Look at how many years Baker Mayfield spent in Kevin Stefanski's system and under his watch. And we couldn't tell. We were on the fence. We like, well, we don't know. Is he a franchise QB or is he not? Sometimes he looks okay. Other times he looks like the worst quarterback in the NFL. We don't know. But as soon as he get over there in Tampa Bay, it's definitive. Oh, no. That's a guy right there. He's a guy. He's one of those guys. Yeah. That's a guy that you can send out every Sunday as your starting quarterback and feel like you got a chance to beat whoever. But when he was here up under Stefanski's watch, we couldn't definitively say whether he was or whether he wasn't. And that's been the case the entire time that Stefanski's been, the head coach and head coach / play caller. It's been a hodgepodge of just whatever, man. So, this is. I'm pretty sure this will end up. I'll end up having to add another, another part, to this, because normally I wait a little while and, try to gather content, especially from the wishy-washy Browns media, because I already know that they're going to have some wild stuff. I already know that there are going to be some people standing on the table, pounding the table. See, Kevin was right all along. He's not ready. This is why the guy should have been out there. This is why he was drafted in the 5th round. See. I already know there's going to be a bunch of that. And again, the problem, the major problem with that is, number one, it was one half of football. Like, it was one half of football. Oh, wait a minute. And not only that, just to talk about Kevin and how he mishandles quarterbacks, especially ones that he doesn't like. So this is just off the top of my, because I don't have no notes. So all of this is off the top of my head. But I can remember this. In the Rams game, when Shedeur was, struggling or whatever, oh, look, he's going backwards, whatever. Mind you, he was playing with people who aren't in the NFL right now. That's just a fact. He was playing with people who aren't in the NFL right now. There was a point in that game where the 2-minute drive, you got a chance to go down, drive down, score, and win the game. And inexplicably, Kevin Stefanski takes Shedeur Sanders out of the game. This is a preseason game, mind you. It don't count. And you're supposed to be developing all of our young players. We want to develop all of our young players. And, it's so important with all of our young players and all of our young players and, all of our young players, and we just want to develop. And all of our young players are, their development is so important because, just all of our young players, Kevin, stupid self, you're so focused on developing all of your young players, developing the young players. You had a chance to develop this young player, but you said, no, Shedeur, we're going to take you out so we can get a look at Snoop Huntley, Tyler Huntley, who's not even going to be on the roster. Oh, that was smart because what you could have done, what you could have did, was you could have sent Shedeur back out there. Game doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The game doesn't count. So you could have sent him back out there because it ain't like you're giving him no first team. It's not like you're giving him no first team reps in practice. So I don't understand when we talking about developing guys. Like I mean, what development are we doing if he throwing the garbage cans? You know what I'm saying? Like how's that developing somebody if you throwing the ball boys? That's not developing, in my opinion. I don't. How's that developing someone? Like I don't. You don't. I don't. That's not developing, in my opinion. But whatever. What you could have done to help develop this young player, you could have sent him back out there on that final drive so he can get some experience and what it's like to have this final drive where maybe you weren't playing your best football throughout the course of the game, but you know what? It comes down to this last drive right here. So if you can suck it up and you can muster it up and find a way to lead this last drive down and score to win a game, not only does that help with your confidence, but number two, it helps develop you. It helps give you experience in these kinds of situations. But instead, you took a guy out who has experienced those kinds of situations before, so he already knows what that's like. And it's not like you need this win because it's a preseason game. It doesn't count. So it's not like we need to win this game. Like if it was a regular season game, I can understand. It's a preseason game. It doesn't count. Win, lose, or draw, it doesn't count. So instead, you send a guy out there who we already know who Tyler Huntley is as a quarterback. He's a backup. We already know this. Backup / third stringer. We already know what he is as a quarterback. With Shedeur, we're trying to figure out, does he have it or does he not? Can we develop him or is he not able to be developed? Instead of sending him out there to gain the experience in a situation like that, you put Snoop Huntley out there. And then lo and behold, it just so happens in this Baltimore Ravens game where Shedeur was thrust into the game, no first team reps, the game plan isn't, there are no package of plays that are put in for him just in case he has to come in. There's none of that. He's just thrown in there. And then what do you know? The game actually comes down to where you got this 2-minute drive situation where he can actually lead the team down to score and tie the game, send it into overtime. In my mind, those reps that he missed out on to put Snoop Huntley in the game, well, at the bare minimum, at least he would have had some experience on what it's like to lead that drive going down the field to try to score in a 2-minute drill, in a final 2-minute drill in an NFL game. In my personal opinion. Now, would those reps in that game have automatically equated to him being able to actually score on the drive? We don't know. But what I do know for a fact is it gives you the experience. You know what it's like now because you've experienced it. But instead of taking advantage of that opportunity so that he could experience it, no, his first experience of that had to take place in an actual real game that counts, where he's had no reps with the first team. So he out there with people that he ain't even had no reps with. That's his first experience with that, 2-minute drive. And then again, for other people who want to use, those other quarterbacks had experience. You forget Shedeur is a rookie too. So the same grace that you want to give Dillon Gabriel and with him being a rookie and he looks like a rookie quarterback and different things, but for some reason you don't give that grace to Shedeur. And personally, for all of the people who are back and forth with Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, if we just being honest, man, I think that's the wrong battle to fight. I've said that before. Just like when it was you had the pick size between Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham. And lo and behold, in the grand scheme of things, we shouldn't have been back and forth about Baker Mayfield or Odell Beckham and which side you on. We should have just been like, hey, let's get Kevin Stefanski up out of here. Because that's the problem. He's the problem. I feel the exact same way in this situation right here. I don't think Shedeur's the problem. I don't think Dillon Gabriel's the problem. I think Kevin Stefanski is still the problem. So we'll see what the Browns media and everybody else has to say, about Shedeur's performance, because even Shedeur himself said just what I said, I don't think I played anywhere near, what I'm capable of. You know what I'm saying? But he also, and he didn't go too far with it. He didn't, he didn't throw too much out there, but he was just like, hey man, it's the first ball I ever thrown to Jerry Jeudy. And he like, I like to know all the details. Like I like to know, what my receivers, skill sets are, what they're good at, what they're not good at. And, another thing is just like different receivers have different ways of running routes. You know what I'm saying? Because at one point you can hear Shedeur kind of describing on the interception that he threw, like, he was like, well, when I saw his hips turn, well, when he's throwing the ball to Gage Larvin or somebody like that, when they hips turn, they might do a certain thing. So that's what he's used to. So when he see Jerry Jeudy hips turn, he thinking, oh, he finna do this. Well, but that's not what he do when he run his route. That's what Gage Larvin do when he run his route. Some guys break out of their route a little faster than others. Some guys run the route in a different fashion. You know what I mean? So those are nuances that matter when you haven't been in the NFL playing quarterback for 16 years like a person like Joe Flacco, or even 6 years like a person like Baker Mayfield, something like that. And respectfully, when you don't just have the super target, a super target, in my opinion, is like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, guys like that, where it's a super target. You know what I'm saying? Meaning like it could be two people covering him and you just kind of throw the ball over there and somehow he catches it. And I can admit, even though I don't think our wide receiving core is the worst ever like other people do, I can admit we don't have one of those on our team. We don't have a super target where you just throw the ball and he's automatically going to catch it. We don't have that. Yeah, we don't have that. We got guys that's got to get open, and I feel like when they get open, they can catch the ball. We don't have a super target. Okay? So, hey, man, we'll see how things play out going forward. I'm pretty sure Kevin's going to do everything he can to be able to get Dillon Gabriel to get through concussion protocol, because I firmly believe that what we saw out of Shedeur in that half of football, I firmly believe that that's what Kevin wants us to remember and to think, that that's what he is and that he'll never be anything more than that. That's what I firmly believe that Kevin would like to have transpire. So the same way that Brian Daboll went over to that blue tent and was yelling at them, demanding them to get Jackson Dart out that blue tent and get him back on the field, I think Kevin Stefanski is doing the exact same thing with whomever it is that he got to talk to say, hey, look, hey, Dillon good. He good. Because Dillon got to get back out here and start this next game, because I'm not trying to be game planning for Shedeur and all this other stuff, and then he mess around and go out there and look decent, because he done had some practice reps with the ones, and he actually knows what it's like to throw to Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku and all these other people now. I don't even want to be able to afford him that opportunity, because I got what I wanted, which was for him to look like trash and for everybody to be like, see. So I don't want to mess it up. That's the same thing he did in that preseason game, where he, instead of giving them that final 2-minute drive to be able to go out there and do something, he was like, nope. Let's let that be the lingering taste left in people's mouths. Get out of here. Snoop, go in. Tyler Huntley, go in there. You finish the game for us. So we'll see going forward, man. We'll see. We'll see how this thing plays out. Another episode of The Hoes on the Couch, combined with the soap opera that is the Cleveland Browns. Signing off.